You've grown. You've changed. By every objective measure, you're in a better place than you were 3 years ago. So why does part of you still ache for who you used to be? It doesn't make sense. You hated that version of your life, the anxiety, the uncertainty, the late nights spent overthinking everything. And yet, when you think about that version of yourself, there's a strange warmth there, a longing you can't quite explain. You scroll through old messages, listen to songs from that era, and feel something close to grief, not for what was, but for who was. This isn't nostalgia in the normal sense. It's deeper than that. You're mourning a person who no longer exists, a person who is you, but also isn't anymore. Here's what you need to understand first. You are not being ungrateful. You are not broken. You are not regressing. What you're experiencing has a name in psychology. It's called discontinuity of self, and it's one of the most human things you can feel. Your brain constructs your sense of identity through something called narrative coherence. Think of it like this. Your mind is constantly writing your autobiography. Not the facts, but the story of who you are. When you change significantly, new city, new career, new relationship status, new beliefs, the story fractures. The protagonist doesn't feel like the same character anymore, and your brain notices this. It registers it as a kind of loss, because in a very real way, it is a loss. The neuroscientist Antonio Damasio calls this the autobiographical self. It's the thread of continuity that connects your past to your present. When that thread becomes too thin, you feel untethered. Here's the paradox. Growth requires letting go of old identities, but letting go feels like dying a small death. Your brain doesn't distinguish much between the death of a past self and the death of a loved one. The neural circuits involved in grief activate either way. You're not imagining the loss. Your limbic system is processing it as real. So what do you do with this? How do you honor what was without being trapped by it? That version of you wasn't just chaos and confusion. It served a purpose. It protected you. It helped you survive a world you didn't yet understand. Ask yourself, what did that version of me give me that I'm afraid I've lost? Maybe it was spontaneity. Maybe it was hunger. Maybe it was a certain rawness that made you feel alive. Name it clearly, because once you name it, you can decide if you want to carry it forward. Not the circumstances, but the quality. Your memory is not a camera, it's an artist, and it paints the past in warmer tones than it deserves. Psychologists call this the fading affect bias. Negative emotions fade faster than positive ones. So when you remember that old version of yourself, your brain filters out most of the pain. What remains is a highlight reel. Counteract this with gentle honesty. Write down what that time was actually like, not to vilify it, but to see it clearly. You'll often find that what you miss isn't the reality, it's the possibility. The feeling that anything could happen. And here's the truth, that possibility still exists, just in different forms. Your brain craves continuity. It needs to feel like the same person waking up every day. So give it that. Create small rituals that connect your past self to your present one. Maybe it's a morning walk. Maybe it's a specific album. Maybe it's a practice you've kept since you were younger. These aren't about living in the past. They're anchors. They tell your brain, I have changed, but I have not disappeared. You don't move forward by pretending the past didn't matter. You move forward by acknowledging what it gave you and what it cost you. Set aside time to actively grieve the old version of yourself, not as weakness, as integration. Write them a letter. Thank them for what they carried. Tell them what you'll take with you and what you're ready to leave behind. This isn't metaphorical fluff. This is how the brain processes identity transitions through narrative closure. Here's the shift. Stop thinking of yourself as someone who lost an old identity. Start thinking of yourself as someone who is expanding their story. The old you isn't dead. They're the foundation of the building you're constructing now. Ask, what would the next version of me be proud that I started today? Not what they'd achieve, what they'd begin. Because the ache you feel isn't really about the past, it's about the future. It's your psyche asking, am I still becoming? And the answer is yes, always yes. Think of your identity like a river. The river you see today isn't the same water that was there yesterday, but it's still the same river. The shape changes, the speed changes, but the current continues. You are not your past self. You are not even your present self. You are the movement between them, the thread that holds the story together. And that thread doesn't break. It just weaves new patterns. You miss the old you. That's okay. It means you loved who you were, even in the hard parts, even in the confusion. But you don't have to go back to honor them. You just have to keep moving, carrying what matters, releasing what doesn't, becoming the next version, one quiet step at a time.